Women Worldwide with Deirdre Breckenridge introduces incredible stories shared by women across the globe who have experienced the great heights of success and, at times, the agony of defeat. With a vision to impart wisdom and advice on how to tackle barriers and soar to new heights, the show uncovers different perspectives to help you find your inner strength and to power up your own voice so you can excel in life.
Welcome to Women Worldwide. I'm your host, Deirdre Breckenridge. We're going to kick off this episode with a discussion on expanding your digital footprint and what it means to be fully digitized. So I read this statistic back in 2014, and it really stuck with me. And once I share it with you, I'm sure you're going to agree. It was a Microsoft study. And it stated that a highly digitized person has the attention span that is 1 second less than a goldfish. So if you can imagine this, a goldfish can pay attention for 9 seconds, but a highly digitized person only has an attention span of 8 seconds. So I can only imagine what our attention span is now, because there's no doubt that social and mobile technologies have us tied to our smartphones, and we are highly digitized. But now here's where we really have to think about this. What does this mean for a business? How do they get digitized to connect with us, their audience? So, that is the perfect segue to my guests today who have the answers, and they're here on the show. We have Stephanie Abrams Cartin and Courtney Spritzer. They are the co-founders of Socialfly, and they're also the authors of the book Like, Love, Follow, the Entrepreneurista's Guide to Using Social Media to Grow Your Business. Stephanie and Courtney, it's great to have you on my show. Welcome.
Thank you so much for having us. We're excited to be here.
Oh, great. All right. This highly digitized person is leading to, businesses being digitized. But before we jump into that, maybe you could just share with us how the two of you met and what was the inspiration behind the launch of your company, Socialfly. So, Stephanie, why don't you start?
Sure. So Courtney and I met through a mutual friend who also happens to be an entrepreneur. And Courtney and I became friends first before we were business partners. And the inspiration for starting a social media agency, it really came organically. So I was working in corporate America doing sales and marketing. And because of my background in sales and marketing, I had a lot of friends who were coming to me. They were starting businesses, and they really needed help putting together a sales and marketing strategy. And this is back in 2008, 2009, before social media really was what it is today. But I started telling them, you have to start using social media. This is going to be the way of the future. So I started putting together these social media strategies on the side of my full-time job, and I quickly realized that it was not an after-work activity. It was an actual business. So I started taking on some clients on the side of my full-time job, and then fast forward to Courtney and I met a couple of years later, and I really, wanted to pursue this as an actual business. So then Courtney and I partnered together on the side of our full-time job, and we worked together for about 10 months, nights and weekends, working for some of these clients, and then we quit our jobs on the same day in May of 2012, and we officially launched Socialfly, and we never looked back. So that's the quick version of how it all started.
Oh my gosh, I love that, Stephanie. And Courtney, did you see this coming? Were you sort of on that same page with Stephanie? Were you kind of doing the same thing around social media, or what was going on your end? What were you thinking?
So my journey was a little bit different. So when I was at NYU, Facebook was only available to college students. And it was really at that point that I found myself spending hours and hours of my day on social media. But at that time, social media marketing really was not in existence, and I didn't realize at the time that it could be a career. So then fast forward to 2011, I'm now working at American Express, and they're forming partnerships with Facebook, Foursquare, and Twitter. And it was really at that moment when I saw that they were leveraging social media for marketing purposes that I knew that this was going to be the way of marketing in the future. And I didn't see anyone really doing a great job with it. It was kind of just starting, and Facebook was evolving their ads platform, but not very many businesses were utilizing it. And a year prior, I had met Stephanie, who had started a social media agency, and I knew that this was something that she really wanted to start, and she was looking for a business partner. And it was at that time that I decided to partner with her. And then, like Stephanie was saying, we worked nights and weekends and eventually quit our jobs on the same day. And we never looked back. And now we have a growing team of about 15 people, and we're working with some really amazing clients.
That's really exciting. And I love that it was kind of, you worked together nights and weekends, and you knew you had something, and then you just sort of went forward and never looked back. So that's a great story. Now, Courtney, on the note of how you were sort of saying that no one was doing a great job, what does it take for a business, or even if you just want to look at professionals, what does it mean for them to be fully digitized? And, are companies now today, are they receiving an A, or what would be their grade?
It really depends. So there are some companies that are doing digital very, very well, and then there are many companies that are behind. And it's easy to fall behind because social media and digital media is evolving so quickly each and every day. There are new apps coming out. Algorithms on Google and Facebook and Instagram are changing. So it's very, very hard to keep up. But what it means to be fully digital today, and again, that might change a month from now or even tomorrow, it means you have to have an optimized website. So you really need a website that's mobile optimized, because that will help with your Google ranking. And then, depending upon who your target market is, you'll need most of the social media platforms. So different people are using different platforms, and depending upon who your target market is, it may make sense for you to use all of them, or it may make sense for you to use some of them. What we advise our clients is to always start with a strategy. So what we help brands do is create social media goals and a social media plan that will help them achieve those goals. And then we measure their results every month to see if what we're doing is working. And yeah, that's essentially what it means.
Yeah, I mean, it's a challenge for a lot of businesses because, not only the changes that you mentioned, but also the resources. So Stephanie, do you want to jump in on that as far as, do you find that companies, they, as you work with them, they get it, but sometimes it would be a resource issue?
Yeah, definitely. A lot of times companies will come to us because they don't have the resources, tools, or people in place to really be able to execute a proper digital strategy. A lot of these companies really don't know what to do or where to begin, so they come to us and really are just looking for help and how to get started, and then how we can essentially take everything over for them to take it off their plate and really become their partner. So to add to what Courtney shared, being able to measure the results of a digital strategy and campaign, it's really important. And as Courtney was saying, that's really what we specialize in, because we always tell clients, it's not enough to just wake up in the morning and, put up a post on Facebook every single day. There really has to be a strategy for the content that you're putting out there for your brand.
Right, and knowing that you're moving the needle. If you don't have that measurement piece tied right to what you're trying to achieve, then you wouldn't know if you're actually making a dent on that. So, Stephanie, I'll stay with you. It kind of begs another question. Sometimes businesses are just so far into it. Maybe they're not coming to you at a starting point, but they're actually doing it and they're doing it wrong, but they have enough sense to go to professionals for help. If a business came to you that was already just so entrenched in social media and you kind of had to restart and rethink how they're making a difference or connecting or building relationships or whatever it is, or whatever their goals are, what would be some restarting tips?
Sure, that's a really great question, and companies come to us with this problem all of the time. So the first thing that they need to do is really re-strategize, and we work through this whole process with the brand. So the first step is for us to say to them, okay, well, what are your overall business goals, and what are you looking to accomplish, and who is your target market? And then, based off those initial questions, we can then help them figure out, are they even using the right platforms? Are they putting out the right type of content? We can look at what they have been doing in the past and really give them an analysis to show them what's been working well, because maybe some elements were working well, but they were doing a lot of what wasn't working well.
Right.
So we'll help them really figure that out. And then we want to pick the platforms that are going to be the most relevant for their target market. So, for example, Facebook is a great way to drive traffic and to increase sales. Instagram is the perfect platform for brand awareness and working with influencers. Twitter is a great place for customer service and thought leadership. So we really need to first figure out what those goals are of the company or brand who's coming to us, and then identify where it's going to make the most sense to spend their time, where should we create the content, where should we advertise.
Wow, you're a PR person's dream. So for me, hearing this just says these are all the right steps. As soon as you talk about business goals and what you're looking to achieve and who's your target market right there, that's music to my ears. And I think it's really important for businesses to understand that, and your approach is spot on. I also love that you said about the platforms and how each one should have a purpose. And I sometimes find that, companies are just sharing across every single platform the same content, not giving people the opportunity to really be there for a reason. Courtney, did you want to add to that any restarting tips, or you think Stephanie nailed it?
Sure. All I would add is that to really define your goals and then figure out how are you going to measure whether or not you're accomplishing those goals. And Facebook and now Instagram, they all have their insight capabilities, but they can only measure things to an extent. So there are certain things that you need to do in order to enhance your tracking capabilities. One could be using Bitly, so using trackable links that you only share on social media so that you can track all of the clicks that you're getting over to a site. Or even using, and this is a little bit more advanced, but using UTM codes for Google Analytics, and then setting up goals in Google Analytics as well, and then measuring the traffic to your site and what goals you're actually achieving once they get there. So there's a lot of things that you can do in advance of posting to measure the effectiveness of your posts in terms of the ultimate results, which is sales or clicks to a desired landing page.
So Courtney, on the note of measurement and all of the different ways that you can track things, it does get overwhelming. There's no doubt about it. Even if you have a partner that is helping you or a business is doing it on its own, there is social overload. What would be a good prescription to kind of ease that feeling of being overwhelmed?
So the remedies for being overwhelmed are different for different people. So let's say I'm a business owner and I'm doing my own social media, and Snapchat's coming out and it's becoming more important, but it wasn't my initial strategy, part of my initial strategy. What I would recommend is that you hire a team of people to manage it for you, so that you're not overloaded, or hire an agency like ours to take on that responsibility. And because it's not part of your day-to-day, you should hire someone who is so focused on managing social media accounts. And for people that are working in social media who are living and breathing social, what I would recommend is on the weekends and at nights to detox. So to turn your phones off, or to go on vacation where there's limited cell phone service or Wi-Fi which will force you not to use your phone. It's very easy in this digital age to become so consumed with social media and constantly being on your phone that sometimes you actually just need to be forced to kind of break away.
Yeah, I say it all the time, but sometimes it's really, really difficult to do that. Even I can do that for a few hours, walk away from technology, the smartphone, being online. But, there's something, I guess, about being in public relations where I constantly want to be tapped into the news. And I do have clients that are around the globe. So it is difficult. Do you both take a break from social media?
It is definitely very hard. I sometimes try to force myself to put my phone away by 10 p.m. just so I make myself take a break and can start relaxing before I go to sleep. But it is extremely difficult, especially working in this industry and always having to be, like you said, tuned in. It's very, very hard. So I know my husband gets frustrated sometimes when, we're out to dinner and I have to, Snapchat where I am or what food I'm eating. So
yeah, no, it's somehow it's always there and we're always wanting to use it. So, okay, Stephanie, I'm going to toss this question at you. We talk a lot about, all of this being fully digitized for a business. It's to establish our brands and our reputation, but and to have a personality. It's more than just a moniker or your four walls, right? It's the people behind your company. So how hard or easy is it to create this personality, and can it really be done?
I think it definitely can be done, and it really depends, what type of brand it is. So, for example, we'll take Socialfly, for example. So we're a service-based business, but Courtney and I are really the personalities behind the brand of Socialfly. So when people think of Socialfly, they think of the two of us because of the, PR appearances we do now and again, as well as the brand we've built across our different social channels. So things are really in our voice. So that's the brand we've built for Socialfly, which is a service-based business. But then you look at a brand, and I'll give you an example that I really like, DiGiorno Pizza. So they do an incredible job of building their brand's personality on Twitter. So they're definitely one of the funniest Twitter accounts to follow, in my opinion. I know Courtney agrees with this as well. So finding a way, what they're able to do is they find a way to be tweeting about pizza, but not in a really promotional way. They love to tie in like trending topics and things that are happening in the news. So they're definitely a very funny brand. So I would say the first step really is to figure out what that personality is behind the brand, or who the person should be behind the brand. So then all of your content is distributed in that voice, if that makes sense.
Oh, that makes a lot of sense. And Courtney, anything to add to that on personality? And do you think businesses are really able to get their best personality foot forward? Are you seeing it?
It's very important to be able to do so in an effective social media strategy, because at the end of the day, people are using social media to connect with their friends, to connect with their family and meet new people. So you really want to humanize yourself and humanize the brand. Something that we do as an agency when we take on a new client is we'll do branding exercises and kind of develop a persona behind the brand. And if the brand were a person, who would it be? What would the name of that person be? Would it be a male or a female? And what words would they use? And then from there, we'll develop the content around that.
Oh, I love it. All right. Well, very, very interesting. I've been chatting with my special guests, Stephanie Abrams Cartin and Courtney Spritzer. They're both the co-founders of Socialfly and the authors of Like, Love, Follow. And in the next segment, Stephanie and Courtney will share how technology helps them stay on track and reaching their goals.
You have been listening to Women Worldwide with your host, Deirdre Breckenridge. Segment 2 is coming right up.
Creating brand loyalty requires a unique blend of strategic communications and innovative technology. Pure Performance Communications works with businesses to move their audiences from interest to action, giving you a roadmap that fosters deeper engagement and forges stronger relationships along the way. Visit us at pureperformancecom.com. Thank you.
Now, back to Women Worldwide with your host, Deirdre Breckenridge.
I'm Deirdre Breckenridge. Welcome back to the show. We're Stephanie Abrams Cartin and Courtney Spritzer and we've been chatting about what it means to be fully digitized and not completely overwhelmed. So, ladies, let's talk about your book, Like, Love, Follow. It shares how you can pay it forward to a strong network, in kind of like this new age of entrepreneuristas. So maybe, Courtney, what does this new age look like?
Sure. So when Stephanie and I started our business about 4 years ago, we happened to join a lot of networking groups. And in those networking groups, we met some really inspiring young women who were also starting their own businesses. And as a result, over the years, we've built this really amazing network of women that we can go to for business advice, vent to, and we can all really relate to each other. And it's very, very motivating and inspiring to know that there are some other people in your shoes or other people who have been very, very successful doing what you're doing and pursuing their dreams. So when Stephanie and I decided to write a book, we really wanted to share our experiences with this community of women who had helped us along the way. So in our book, where it's written in a voice that appeals to women, and we're sharing all of our tips and advice on how to build your social media on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram, using everything that we have learned throughout working for other clients and also what we have learned for ourselves.
Oh, that's great. And I'm all for building the strong network of women and the learning that comes out of that. That's fantastic. Stephanie, anything you want to add to that about the book? How did you feel about the writing process?
Yeah, definitely. So, the writing process actually took us about a year. So it wasn't as quick and easy as some people might think. So we really wanted to be sure everything was well thought out. And then, as you know, social media is constantly changing. So as we would finish a chapter of the book, the algorithm would change with Facebook, and then we had to go in and update the chapter. So it takes you a while to write a book. In social media, you're always having to go in and update and edit. But one thing that I'll add is that I feel like there used to be this stigma that, women didn't want to help other women and they were just trying to, climb the corporate ladder and didn't want to help people along the way. And what we've really seen over the past few years is just this community of women really helping women. And that's really why we wanted to write this book, because we wanted to help other people and share all of our secrets that didn't need to be a secret. We want to be able to help other people so when they launch their business, they can learn from our mistakes as well as our successes.
Oh, that's really good. I hear far too often women beating other women down, more so than men would do that. And it's so disheartening. We should be in an age, this new age should be all about lifting one another up, sharing, and the network that you've created and how you use it. So being in this new age, which you both are, how you're managing being entrepreneurs, you're authors, you're in the media spotlight. Are you always on? And how do you rejuvenate? You must take some time. Well, what are you doing? How are you balancing and managing all of this? So Stephanie, let's start with you.
Sure. So I would say that yes, we are always on, and it's very hard to take time off and separate work from your personal life, since everything really is connected. And even in your one's personal life now, you're still working on building your personal brand. So even if it's a weekend and I'm away, I still want to post on my Instagram account because I'm still working on building my personal brand. So it's definitely very hard to relax and, as Courtney said, detox from social media. So I think scheduling vacations or going away where there is no cell reception, as Courtney mentioned, is definitely a must. I know that when I was away on my honeymoon last October, it was the first time I ever would turn my internet off when I was at the pool because there was Wi-Fi there, even in Aruba. So it was really the only way that I could force myself to just not check my email or, go on Instagram. So it's definitely very challenging.
Right. And how many honeymoons are you going to have? So
I know.
You want to make sure. Exactly. So, how about you, Courtney? What are you doing? You're always on too. So share maybe how you step away.
You're always on. And I would say that it's a very big challenge for me. And I don't know if I've cracked the code, because with especially now with social media, and as Stephanie was saying, everything is connected, and everything you post on social media, even on your personal account, ties back to your personal brand. So unlike before I had started the agency, where I didn't necessarily think twice about what I had posted, now I'm very, very particular in what I share. And because of that, maybe there are some things that I don't share that I would have typically posted on my social media. So from that perspective, I think it's a challenge for me, and it's probably a challenge for others in determining, what to share and what not to share. And of course, the whole point of social media is being authentic. So just figuring out where to draw the line, I guess, will just be an ongoing challenge as social media progresses.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely challenges and what to share. As if you are like me, it's almost you're blending your kind of what you do into one feed. So I'm on Twitter, I'm who I am, whether it's Deirdre the author or Deirdre communications consultant or the podcaster. And on Facebook, it's the same thing, and there could be family things, but always thinking about your brand and what to share. I don't know if you've ever felt this way, but I shared in an interview that sometimes I get so caught up in capturing the moment that I lose the moment, especially if it's with family. And that's one of my resolutions, is to stop doing that and to be in the moment and to be present. So I feel that that's really important too. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about technology. And this is on a positive note. So yeah, we're highly digitized, but how is technology helping you to stay on track, keeping you organized? I'm sure as business owners, you need to reach your own goals. What apps are you using? Courtney, maybe you can share here.
Sure. So as an entrepreneur, I am super busy. I'm always running to a meeting or an event or a call or having an internal meeting with my team. So being very, very efficient is important, and that is what's so amazing about technology. Technology is making your everyday life a lot easier and faster, and I literally have every single taxi app on my phone, so I can get to all of my meetings quickly and save time and money. And
is it called Taxi? It's a taxi app?
Oh, no. Every kind of like car service app. So Uber,
okay. Got it.
In New York, we have Via and Get, so I'm constantly using those.
Excellent.
And then I'm also, just because I'm always on the go, using Seamless Web, which is a great way to order food quickly. You don't have to give anyone a call. You just order directly on the app. I use OpenTable to make reservations. Also, we're no longer going to the bank. We're using a lot of online banking like Venmo or Chase or Mint.com. So all of these apps have just made my life so much easier because I no longer have to pick up the phone and call or try to find a car or go to the bank.
Yeah, it saves a lot of time. Stephanie, how about you? Are you using the same apps or you have any different ones?
Yeah, so I'm using all of the ones that Courtney just mentioned, but I'll add a few more. So one that I love is Glam Squad. So if you need a quick blowout, you can literally book, up to an hour before you need it. So last week I was booked last minute for a segment on TV, and I found out the day before. So I just booked a blowout on Glam Squad, and they came to my house within an hour. So that was amazing.
That's amazing.
I know, I love it.
Oh.
And then the other, this is one I'm going to share that sometimes I don't want to share this. I don't want everyone to know about it, but I'm going to let everyone in on this secret. So Starbucks has an app where you can pre-order your drinks, and then you can just go to Starbucks and pick up the drink. Because in New York City, if you try to go to Starbucks in the morning, there can be a line out the door. So if you order on their app, you can get it ahead of time. So that's another trick.
That is a good trick.
And then one of my favorites, and they're actually a client of ours, so Kiwi for Gmail. It's a desktop app for your Mac computer, and it's an app that allows you to use multiple Gmail accounts all in the same place. So it definitely saves a lot of time, and that one's Kiwi for Gmail. It's amazing.
Kiwi for Gmail. Okay, I'm going to check that out. I've never heard of that before. Starbucks, very cool. Can you go back to the Glam Squad?
Yes.
Is that just a New York thing?
There are a couple of cities. I think they're New York, Miami, possibly Chicago. I think they're on Long Island now as well. But I would have to double check that. But they're here in New York for sure. And you can book hair, nails, and makeup now. And they will come to your office or to your apartment, wherever you are. You just have to wash your hair so it's wet when they come and they show up, and we'll give you a blowout.
Isn't it amazing what technology does?
I know.
Those are fantastic.
One of the co-founders of Guilt Group started it.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah.
So smart. I could see that being used quite a bit.
Yeah.
Okay, not to start any trouble between the two of you as partners in business, but, you seem like you kind of flow, and naturally, I know you were friends, and now you're in business. Do you always agree? And if not, how do you resolve your problems?
Yeah, so we definitely don't always agree because we do have different perspectives on things, and we also have very different skill sets, which is actually what makes us really great business partners, is that we have complete opposite skill sets. So something that we've learned to do is we schedule time to really talk to each other about things that are going on, and this way we have open communication, and then if we don't agree on something, we've already put time in the calendar to really go over, what are the pros and the cons of whatever decision we're looking to make, and then come to a reasonable conclusion. But yeah, we definitely don't always agree, but we have learned how to communicate pretty well with each other so we can resolve things effectively.
Awesome. And Courtney, are you sort of feeling that even though the different skill set, you guys have the whole resolve thing down pat? Do you always win or lose?
Yes, definitely. So, as friends first and then business partners, we definitely have a lot of respect for each other. And while we work so closely together, it may sound silly to some to schedule time to talk about things. But when you're so caught up in the day-to-day of the business, you have to schedule time to sit down and talk about things or go out to dinner to make sure that certain conversations are had. But it definitely works because we have a lot of respect for each other.
It's really good. I mean, it's like a marriage in a sense. And it really is. I compare it to, my husband and I, we have to schedule a date night. So you need to schedule time. No doubt about that. So what about, I'm sure you've learned a lot over the past years and how you both came out of corporate America and you're entrepreneurs. If I were to ask you, what do you know now that you wished you knew earlier? Courtney, how would you answer that?
Sure. So I would say the biggest challenge right now is really managing a growing team. And to do that effectively, you need to be very efficient with how they spend their time and how you spend your time. And you also need to be really good at figuring out what motivates people. So what I wished I had learned earlier is, having people track all of their time so that we know how much time is spent on each client, because at the end of the day, we're a service-based business and what we're selling is our time. Also, in terms of motivating people, people are clearly motivated by money in most cases. So putting KPIs in place for each and every role here at the company so that everyone knows exactly what they need to do in order to achieve their goals and earn a certain bonus. And also just creating goals for the team is something that I wished I had learned from day one, but we have some really great mentors and advisors at Socialfly now, and I've just learned so much in the past 4 years managing a growing team.
Oh, so great that, you have learned and that you're still learning. So Stephanie, how about you? What do you wish you, knew then that you know now?
So something I'll share is that I don't even think it would be possible to have known everything we know now when we first started. Something that definitely was a headache to us, but eventually led to the success of the rebrand of the name of our company, Socialfly, is that when we first started, the name of our business was actually called Collective Media. And within a couple months of launching our company together, after Courtney and I quit our jobs, we received a cease and desist letter from a company that said they had the trademark, or they were called The Collective. They had the trademark for Collective Media. So we then had to contact our attorney and figure out what to do, and realized it would be very expensive to fight that, especially since we were just starting out as brand new entrepreneurs. So we decided to come up with a new name, and that's how the name Socialfly was born. So something we learned early on is that you can definitely take a hard time or something that you don't anticipate and turn it into something positive, because I definitely think that, and everyone has shared with us that they love the name Socialfly and it fits our brand and our personality. So definitely learned early on that when things like that happen, that you just keep going and you find the positive in negative situations. So yeah, that's what I wish I had known initially starting out. Well,
I love Socialfly. So much more than Collective Media. So it's great that, so maybe at the time it felt painful and you had to move through a process, but to have the new name and the brand that you do, gosh, that works out. And I just know that with every negative situation, you can, and that's really what we do sometimes in PR is finding that positive. You can learn from it. Every mistake out there on social media, right, could be a learning opportunity with your customer. So I think that's a really, really good lesson. All right, so Stephanie, what's next on the horizon? Anything new and exciting you want to share? That's a secret that you can tell us.
We have big updates. So we're actually currently rebranding, so you can look out for our new website and logo and video about our whole rebrand in September. And then we also have a new show on Facebook Live, so on the Socialfly Facebook page. It's every Wednesday at 2:30 p.m. Cool. And we also started doing social media workshops for business owners. So lots of new things happening, and it's all very exciting.
That's really exciting, and I'm sure, Courtney, that's keeping you busy as well.
Yes, it's keeping us very busy. And something else that Stephanie didn't share is we're doing a lot more as an agency on Snapchat. So I would definitely encourage people to follow us, and our username is SocialflyNY on Snapchat.
Nice. Terrific. All right. Well, last question. It's so easy. Where can my listeners find out more about the two of you and Socialfly?
Sure. So you can go to our website, socialflyny.com. And of course, we're on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Socialfly. And then, as Courtney said, for the behind-the-scenes look at our agency, you can follow us on Snapchat at SocialflyNY and tune in every Wednesday at 2:30 p.m. to our Socialfly Facebook page for Social Live, our Facebook show.
Now, Stephanie, will both you and Courtney be doing the Facebook Live? Because that's
yes,
really...
it's the two of us, and you'll
nice.
you'll have some guest appearances from people at the agency and other companies, and you never know who's going to show up.
You just never know. That's great. Well, I'll tell you, it was so nice to chat with both of you. Thank you so much for coming on Women Worldwide, sharing your journey as entrepreneurs, as authors, and giving so many great tips and advice. So thank you both.
Thank you so much for having us. This was so much fun.
Well, you are welcome. And I also want to thank everyone for tuning into Women Worldwide. Until our next episode, stay focused, energized, and feeling empowered. Thank you.
Thank you.
You have been listening to Women Worldwide with Deirdre Breckenridge, brought to you by Pure Performance Communications on thesocialnetworkstation.com. You can reach Pure Performance at www.pureperformancecom.com. Women Worldwide is produced by SNI, and the opinions of the hosts and guests do not necessarily reflect those of Social Network Intermedia, LLC, or the Social Network Station.